day 1,657 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered in the line of duty on Fort Bliss for reporting criminal trafficking. I would say the links of criminal trafficking with his chain of command. I, that's really how I would phrase that, because it's just that egregious. Okay, make sure that I'm on. Let's see. And I didn't change the title too much, and it's been really busy behind the scenes, because of this quid pro quo. It's really important, and I left it up there. The quid pro quo with El Paso Matters. Bob Moore was the editor at the time. It's Christina Sanchez now, I believe, is her name. And it's very clear that the federal courthouse then was compromised, but also the media. The media also has a huge part to play in all of this, that they are willing to risk their 501c3, that they are willing to risk their reputation and everything to attempt to keep news so big that the office manager for Judge Guadarrama, Michael Maela, his daughter, is married to Patrick Crusius's brother. That's huge, huge news. And to be willing to not tell people this, because it's not that Michael is just some random person in El Paso. He absolutely had everything to do with the federal case for Patrick Crusius, right? He had, because he runs that office. He runs that office, the federal courthouse. And he absolutely has a huge role to play in this death penalty case, this capital punishment case. And he has such huge conflicts of interest in there. And to keep silent, absolutely historical information, solid information, witness testimony about Patrick Crusius, right? And about Patrick Crusius's connection with El Paso. That is really, really big, because the media was saying he has no connection with El Paso. And, so that was a quid pro quo. So the marriage, the connection, the romance, the marriage, um, uh, Patrick Crusius's severe autism, um, and history, his whole history, also is huge. But that the media said Patrick Crusius has no connection with El Paso, that it was just a random place that he went to because he had some kind of ideology of hate, which is now confirmed to not be the truth, because of the audio recordings that we have of Joe Spencer that clearly shows that the narrative was a false narrative about the whole situation. And now on top of this, we have, how dare how dare Judge Guadarrama keep this from us? How dare Mike Maela keep this from us? How dare Alexis and Brian uh, Crucius, right? Keep this from us. You know, this is so egregious. I, tell me, please, if you're in law enforcement, that they absolutely need to be arrested. All of them need to be arrested. Why do we give these individuals a pass? They are absolutely destroying our justice system. And where there is no justice, then the land is just a criminal syndicate, is just a band of robbers. This is how serious this charge is. And Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, who is, you know, willing, for the Midas touch to sell out the city, to sell out these victims, to sell out Richard, to sell out and keep quiet, to sell out his 501c3 C3 status. To do that is so egregious. And so we've been very, very, very busy. Um, and there might be rumors in El Paso of the work that we've already been doing behind the scenes. And we have a lot more to do. Our list is long. So if we are working very hard behind the scenes. Because this is huge breaking news, huge breaking news. And all I'm talking about right now is Alexis and Brian, right? Patrick Crucius's older brother. That's all I'm talking about right now. But we have another brother, and the other brother is another Michael Maela, Michael Gianni Maela, who absolutely has just as concerning role in all of this. He was interning at the DA's office under Jaime Esparza. He was interning at the FBI field office in El Paso under Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. Uh, Wait a minute. Okay, so Jaime Esparza stayed on the case for almost 2 years collecting loads of money, loads of money, um, knowing that he was botching the case because his conflict of interest with his sister being there, being a victim at the Walmart mass shooting. And, and nobody says anything. Everyone gives Jaime Esparza a free pass. And then at the same time, Michael Jr. is with Jesus Nieto, who is confirmed to have leaked, tattletaled to Leilani Hart and CID agent Noosa, who lost his badge. He's a former CID, but still, Fort Bliss CID. This compromises the CID office. That entire office is compromised. The CID is compromised because of Howell's ties with the Hart family. Um, these ties, they've Human Resources has done its best to keep the criminal group together on this case. Absolutely. Sorry for coming on so late. We're really burning the midnight oil. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for your prayers and your love and your continued prayers. Um, it's working, isn't it? It's working. It's just this breaking news is so big because you have the daughter of the office manager of the federal court married to Patrick Crucius's brother, and his son is has access to security, to files, in the DA's office, in the FBI. Um, is did he do security at the federal courthouse? Was he ever hired at the federal courthouse? Did he do just favors for security at the courthouse, at the federal courthouse? I'd like to know that because he did security, maybe he's still doing it at Walmart. At Walmart. Now that just gives you chills, right? That just gives you chills. This Michael F. Maela and his family to keep from us their conflicts of interest, their roles in all of this, for Judge Waterama to keep from us this family, their conflicts of interest, their roles in all of this. It's really stinky. It really looks not like an accident or oops or just a simple conflict of interest. This looks like an orchestrated. When I've said that the Walmart mass shooting case is orchestrated, I meant it. And tell me, is this looking pretty orchestrated to you, like it does for us? Um, and a huge investigation needs to be conducted. And when you see the mess that the justice system, the criminal justice system is in El Paso, when they are the front door to the United States, they are the front door to the United States. That's where thousands and thousands are trafficked. And thank God, President Trump is the 47th president now. Thank God that he actually um, cares about protecting our country, that he is absolutely, uh, uh, you know, in total understanding that this is a Mexican cartel problem, that is, does deals, huge deals. This is not just a gang, okay? These are suits. These are suits, well organized suits and uniforms. They have a military, a militia. They have a militia. And, a lot of those arms, I'm just wondering if we provided it for them with the trafficking. And now you're hearing reports that there is possibly a chance of a kinetic warfare at the border because of these even, and this is not me. This is not me. This is what is being reported, that our veterans that were recruited into this criminal group went over to Mexico and trained this militia. That's what's being reported in the news. And we have exposed and discovered all of this information, but we have an FBI, Jesus Nieto, that's compromised, that um, absolutely has a duty to arrest Leilani Hart. This is why we call for her arrest, and I need to call for her arrest more and more and more. She absolutely needs to be 100% arrested. This is not up for debate. This is not, maybe she should be. No, she has absolutely turned in, filed a sworn confession of felony crimes, whether they are true or not, because she turned them in. To do it, she needs to be arrested. To lie to the Federal Bureau of Investigation is a felony crime. She needs to be arrested. There is no option here. And why are we calling it out all the time? Because it shows you what just happened recently with Christopher Duran. So Christopher Duran, an office police in the El Paso Independent School District, was arrested, right? And why are they arrested? Because of their failure, their quid pro quo, their quid pro quo. So does, and it really seems absolutely 100%, it seems like this, that Jesus Nieto has a quid pro quo with Leilani Hart. And that needs to be exposed. That needs to be exposed just like this quid pro quo of Christopher Duran's. And he's not the only one. And of course, um, the chief is absolutely connected to the Walmart case. He was part of the Walmart investigation, and he's absolutely part of our son's case. And, so that, because anytime, look, the Walmart case is so intertwined with our son's case that the anytime I say one or the other, they go along. They're like Siamese twins at this point. They are together. You can't separate them. And it goes along, and this could be triplets, right? Because it goes along with the Santa Teresa International Jetport. That is all part of this. And I would say what this quid pro quo at the federal courthouse with El Paso Matters and Bob Moore, what that's showing, because El Paso Matters is owned by the El Paso Community Foundation. El Paso Community Foundation was in charge of distributing is a better word, distributing the $12 million from that was collected for the Walmart mass shooting victims, right? That money was deposited in West Star Bank. What's going on at West Star Bank? What's going on with Richard's chain of command with West Star Bank? What's going on at the federal courthouse and West Star Bank? What's going on there? Something is stinky. Something's not right. And of course, it's connected to Fort Bliss. Of course, it's connected. And, my husband is a 30-year veteran. He went in as an E3. He moved his up and went to PA school and was a warrant officer. During the Gulf Wars, Congress said if you had a degree and you were a PA and you met the requirements, you were then commissioned overnight. He was then commissioned with time in service overnight, captain. He made major quick. He didn't really like captain. He liked the CW3, right? He liked the CW3, but this is how it went. And very quickly he made major, and then of course lieutenant colonel, where he then retired. Through those years, we absolutely understand. And then he became a contractor. He became a contractor for medical equipment. Um, that's, God just puts you in positions. I became very, very sick. He got a job, and what did that show us? It showed us that these contracts are very lucrative. And there is because his job was for all these companies, he would go to the nurses and the doctors, and you'd have, let's just say, medical gloves, right? The medical gloves. And they would all try these medical gloves. And then they would report back their experience with the medical gloves. And then they would normally have 90 different types of gloves on their shelf, and they would narrow it down to the 10 that they liked the most, right? The 10 they and save the government some money. Um, that's really what his job was. And so to work with all the different companies that produce these products, you saw how competitive they were to get the contracts. They were very competitive. And we're talking about surgical packets, we're talking about surgical robes, we're talking about, it was all kinds of stuff that's used in the military, and it was a combination of, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Um, and, he met a lot of these contractors, a lot of them, to talk about products. And it, there, that exists in El Paso. That exists in El Paso. And it's very competitive. Unless you don't want to be competitive, unless you want to play dirty. Unless you want to play dirty with politics. I live in the Rio Grande Valley, and last night at around 11 at night, I could hear like an all out battle going on at the river, back and forth and getting closer. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Martha. I'm so sorry. That it's all so unnecessary, isn't it? Um, I am really getting scared, and I had heard gunshots before, but these sounded like military. So there is fighting at the river. There is so much going on, and you would think that the wall would stop this, but they want to get their drugs over. Absolutely. And um, the drugs are like $90 billion a year. They absolutely want to get their drugs over. And they absolutely are engaged in the worst type of movies with children, and also the human trafficking, and also this that goes with all of that is the weapons and the ammunition. The weapons aren't any good if they don't have the ammunition, and the ammunition is a big deal. We we've for 4 years, don't even trust me, but we've been talking and talking and talking to all of our sources, and the ammunition is a very big deal. And truckloads of ammunition have been caught at the border illegally, and this smuggling going on. It's just not anything new. And recently also, um, out of Texas. Uh, those tactical move storage units, right, were trying to be shipped out to North Korea from California. So this is a huge business, and I'm hearing, because of what is happening, the gnashing of the teeth, right, the bottlenecking of all of those products that need to get into this country to be sold. But but it doesn't need to get into this country to be sold. You understand, those things have been killing us. Those things have been destroying our families. And because we've let it go on, we didn't nip it in the bud. We didn't nip it in the bud. And so now we have a really big mess. And we have a um lots of crime going on, and we don't have, um because the clearly the politics were tampered with. It's I'm hearing that it's going to get, possibly, um it could get kinetic. And I'm really praying that, God, with God all things are possible. And we need to have peace, right? We need to have peace. But these people, they won't stop at anything. Look at Leilani. She doesn't stop at anything. She's been committing these crimes since before Richard was born. All kinds of crimes, y'all. Ruining families. Facilitating the worst type of crimes against children. Allowing her own children to suffer the worst type of crimes. They don't know what life is like to lead, uh, I guess, a different life. And they are now the prime suspects in the murder of a soldier. And yes, it's my soldier. And the DOD did confirm that he was murdered in the line of duty. And the paperwork before that, when they declared him deceased, absolutely confirmed that he was murdered on Fort Bliss. So he was murdered on Fort Bliss in the line of duty. And it's so bad. It was so violent, y'all. Our sources, that it was so violent. And I don't want to see that kind of violence at the border. Let's see what Martha has to say. It is all for the drugs. Well, they have the ammunition because there was no difference in the sound. Mm, very good point. Thank you for that. Thank God for Trump. Yeah, he's our hero. Absolutely. And it's not just Trump. It's those that stood, like in 2019. Uh, and this was really a wonderful discovery, that Judge Roger Rodriguez, our key witness whistleblower, right, who identified Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa, was in 2019 already stating that there is a problem, that there is an emergency, that the cartels are no different from a terroristic organization. He was already stating that when that was very dangerous to state that in 2019, especially politically, especially as a judicial officer. And then, and of course, we're going to search if he is, um, identifying the suspects of in our son's murder case. Of course, we're going to look him up, and um, we were very happy that he has well, he was called out by that reporter as the coordinator for, I hope I get this right, terrorism and homeland security at Fort Bliss, right? I think that's for the terrorists, the terrorism coordinator for terrorism and homeland security program at Fort Bliss. Um, wow, that gives him so much credibility. And, and Bob Moore, I met Richard too. He's a hero. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yes. And you're a hero. This is the thing. We have to be willing to be tough through this, uh, finally addressing this drug trafficking, right? And all the things that go with it. We have to be tough. We have to get through this because President Trump can't do anything without our support. He could not even be president right now without our votes. He couldn't do any of this, what he's done in 3 weeks, without the mandate. He received a clear popular mandate. He got the popular vote. That was the worst nightmare for the Congress and the Senate. Was the worst nightmare for those that are up to no good. And they've been up to no good, and you see with the USA that they've been up to no good. And uh when you're $37 trillion in debt, and you have potholes, and you have bad roads, and you have all of this crime going on, you're like, what's going on? And bad infrastructure, you're going, what's going on here? Everything should be gold laced roads, right? Golden roads and crystal clear water. And I mean, $37 trillion buys you quite a bit for every last person that lives in the United States. It buys you quite a bit. But where is it? And, the drain, the black hole seems to be at the Pentagon. And so then it's connected to um, activities that are suspicious at best. But we have confirmed that Michael Garrett is absolutely up to no good. And Thomas Garrett and others are up to no good. Absolutely up to no good. And then it brings us full circle again to Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, of El Paso Community Foundation, of West Star Bank. And if these individuals have targeted us, in 4 years, it's kind of like with Trump. We haven't really disclosed all the targeting that we have received, all of the harassment, all of the threats, all of the retaliation that we've received through all of this, because we want to stay focused on getting answers to who murdered Richard, hold them accountable, and get our son's remains, right? And if people, we've tried not to, uh, you know, publicize everything that they've tried to do to us. I have mentioned the text messages, the months and months every day text messages, right? But there's much more. There's much more, and they have still continued, and lately continue to harass us. So, uh, but and why am I saying this? Because General Garrett had a duty to help us, and so did Bernabe, and so did all the rest. And why, why was the harassment allowed? Why were we targeted? And why are those targets, those that are targeting us, connected to these same criminal individuals through LLCs, through banks, through funding? Look at Veronica Escobar. Who are her biggest donors, right? And some of these biggest donors now for Veronica Escobar, it is it's pretty gosh, what is the emotion that you would call that those that were donating, the biggest donors to Veronica Escobar, the co-chair for the Biden campaign, and then the co-chair for the Harris campaign, that received over $1 billion in donations, and was what, 20 million in the hole when it was over because of all the mismanagement, and just a failed candidacy. It's just totally failed. And now those big donors, they are rebranding themselves as MAGA. I kid you not. To do everything you can to stop MAGA, and then when MAGA wins, to rebrand yourself MAGA, to be an imposter. That's what that is. To be an imposter. And that is a strategy that we have seen in these 4 years, where people have come to us and they are not who they say they are. They're imposters. They're working for a different team. They're not working for Team Find Richard Halliday. And they're very, very good. They're very good. They're very convincing. Some are not as good as others, but they're very convincing, and especially um, if you're not aware of what's going on, that this is what they're going to do. Um, you're not paying full attention. You're just thinking you just want all the help you can get. Uh, and these people are imposters. They're there to misdirect you. They're there to lie to you. They are there to do a psyop on you, to make you question yourself, and what you know is true. And then they go on and even make podcasts about how all they like is the truth. All I like is the truth. I can't tell a lie. I like the truth. I go after the truth, and everything I say is the truth. And yet they're crossing their fingers behind their back because everything they're saying is a damn lie. And it's like they the false witness commandment, um they don't know what it exists. They don't know what it exists. And they just are absolutely false witnesses, imposters. And we've had a lot of them. And because of these years of experiencing that, um, we can see and we do our, like Doge right now, they're all doing all this research. And of course, we're nothing like they are. I mean, they have this enormous task in front of them. But we've gotten pretty good at our research. And we did discover that Alexis um, Maella is married to Brian Crucius, right? We did discover that. And we did discover, before that's all wiped off, right, that her brother, why didn't he help Patrick Crucius? Because they absolutely could have said, wait a minute, we are his family here. He does have connections in El Paso. He does have connections in El Paso. And yet they have kept that silent. With more. But I think that is a big issue. And I think it's a big issue against Judge Waterama. And I think it's a big issue against El Paso Matters. And it also corroborates our cease and desist that Bob Moore, we were willing to put our money, that cease and desist is expensive, right? We were willing to put our money where our mouth is. He absolutely was fabricating information about our son. Those articles that El Paso Matters put out about Richard are false. Are false. They are such evil liars. And this corroborates that they are liars because clearly he has been caught with his hand in the lying cookie jar. For what? For access and also for free pass. So he can tamper with witnesses now. He can write his false stories now. And the judicial system can't touch them because they have a quid pro quo. He has dirt on them. And he has a quid pro quo. And it does the $12 million play a part in the quid pro quo? Well, I'm going to leave that for the investigators to look at, right? Because there are, we know Bob Moore is absolutely undergoing active investigations right now. So hopefully, like Chris Duran, he will be arrested, and Leilani Hart will be arrested because clearly they have committed egregious crimes. So thank you so much, Martha, for coming on and for chatting. Um, and I'm really, we're working very hard behind the scenes so that the there won't be a kinetic war. We're working very hard behind the scenes to identify the criminals so that the justice system can get up and rolling. Because if the justice system gets up and rolling in El Paso, you can get so many criminals off the street. And when you start getting the criminals off the street, the other criminals see the justice and they run for the hills. They run for the hills. And this is why um, a judicial system, a criminal judicial system, justice system is so important. we've got to let them know that we're very, very serious, that we are about the rule of law, and we're going to keep the rule of law, and we're going to arrest Lalani Hart, and we're going to arrest Bob Moore, we're going to arrest Judge Waterama, and we're going to arrest Michael uh, Mayella and his family for doing this to us, which is so criminal. Withholding that kind of information, and also, I believe, um, mitigating information is so egregious. So, and if we can get the judicial system up and rolling, this is my point, then maybe these criminals, including even though they might be armed, these cartels, even though they might want to sell their drugs, when they hit the wall of justice, it's much more powerful than a border wall. When they hit that wall of justice, it will stop them. It will stop them in their tracks. And it will send a clear message to everybody else that's thinking about continuing to traffic anything, any kind of criminal trafficking. It will send a clear message that they are risking um, huge prosecution. Right now, we don't even have, it looks like James Montoya is not even the district attorney. And where is Yvonne Rosales? She needs to assert her rights for the sake of, everybody that gets hurt that's not prosecuted right now, because we don't have a prosecutor right now that's duly elected like she is. She's the legal, duly elected um, installed correctly district attorney. And every case that goes through that is letting more and more criminals out on the street, uh, uh, is she responsible for that? Because look, she took an oath. She needs to put her heels on. She better put her suit on, get her heels on, and get to that DA's office and assert her rights. Because we need to send a very loud message to all the criminals, all the trafficking, cartel friendly, whatever criminals, the criminal group, and even Fort Bliss, even those soldiers that, thinking about being recruited into this criminal activity. We need to send a clear message that they are going to face the full power of the law. And that's why the federal courthouse cannot be allowed to go unaddressed. The El Paso criminal law magistrate cannot be allowed to go unaddressed. The illegal and unqualified chief medical examiner who determines the cause and manner of death cannot be allowed to continue. There needs to be a legitimate uh, chief medical examiner. There needs to be legitimate. Now we're getting into the education, because the education is intermingled in this with the El Paso Independent School District Police Department, right? And the FBI retiree that was not too many months ago that was shot and killed there. And now we have arrests from the police that are on that force for their corruption. We need a law enforcement um, overhaul. We can't let Carzoli be in there, right? We can't let Carzoli uh, or Melendez, right? But All of them need to be scrutinized. And we need to bring our system back. We need to restrain evil, make them think twice, put them on the right road so that they won't fall into corruption, fall into compromise, get the temptations away from them, and set them right. And then we won't have a kinetic war because they will know. The Justice Department is very, very powerful when it's working right. It's very powerful. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I pray for your strength and for you every day. And it is so hard because Richard had all his life ahead of him and it was cut short. And he is so beautiful, right? And his family, right? He was a godfather and um, brother. I think he'd be married by now and have at least one child. He was. We were really robbed. We've been really robbed. And we need to get accountability because I don't want anyone. If I can, if we can just restrain as much of as this as possible. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. Thank you so much for all your kind words. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.